This week, we delve into the final revolution in human history, the scientific revolution. Understanding this will provide you with crucial knowledge to gain a deeper insight into your present and future. The scientific revolution differs greatly from the agricultural revolution. Why do we say that? Imagine someone from 1,000 years ago falling asleep for 500 years. When they woke up, they could still adapt to that world because society hadn't changed much. Their clothes, way of speaking, and lifestyle would be similar to 500 years prior, and they could communicate with everyone around them. But if someone from 500 years ago slept for 500 years and then suddenly woke up in this asterisk era, they would be terrified and feel utterly unable to survive. This is a world they wouldn't recognize at all. So, why such monumental changes in the last 5 centuries? What are these changes, and what happened during this process? Over the past 500 years, humanity's power has grown to an unprecedented and truly astonishing degree. In 1500 AD, the global population of Homo Sapiens was around 500 million. Today, it has soared to 7 billion. The total value of goods and services produced by humanity in 1500 AD was roughly $250 billion. Today, this figure stands at approximately $60 trillion annually. Also, in 1500, humanity consumed a total of 13 trillion calories per day. But today, that number is 1,500 trillion calories. These statistics reveal a colossal transformation for humanity. Population increased 14-fold, production 240-fold, and energy consumption a staggering 115-fold. How could such immense change occur? It's because humans no longer solely believed in divine salvation, but began to embrace an attitude of trust in science. 3 very important prerequisites in human perception led to the scientific revolution. The first condition is humanity's willingness to admit its ignorance. Previously, the premise of religion was the existence of an omniscient deity who knew everything. But now, the premise of science is not knowing asterisk. Humans acknowledge that there are many things they don't understand. The second condition is that to truly know, one must focus, observe, and solve problems using mathematics. You cannot make arbitrary statements. There must be experiments, mathematical statistics, and rigorous testing to prove a law exists. And the final condition is that mere proof isn't enough. You must translate these theories into the potential for new inventions. These 3 elements opened up new opportunities for human development. People began to say, if we only believe in a mature God, we will always remain stagnant. Therefore, we need to explore this world and change our lives. The scientific revolution then led to the fusion of empire and science. When empires sought to conquer and discover new lands, the integration of science provided crucial support. Take the story of Captain James Cook, for example. During his long sea voyages, people would write their wills, stating that if they didn't return within 200 days, they should be considered dead. Many sailors began to suffer from bleeding gums, a mysterious illness causing blood deficiency, weakness, and fatigue. Later, someone researched and discovered that eating citrus fruits and cabbage could prevent and cure this condition. So, Captain Cook hired scientists to investigate the problem and equipped his ship with plenty of citrus fruits and sauerkraut. This seems incredibly simple and obvious to us now, as it's merely a vitamin C deficiency. But for us to understand this obvious fact, it first had to emerge from the combination of empire and science. Humans then began to explore Europe and the Americas, subsequently conquering Australia and colonizing India. These expeditions always included scientists, funded by aristocrats or monarchs to conduct their explorations. These scientists, driven purely by curiosity, discovered many new lands. However, it was a bloody process. Wherever empires went, the populations in colonized regions drastically declined. During this period, European civilization experienced unprecedented prosperity. Whenever an explorer was ready to set sail, Europeans would almost issue shares, and everyone could buy them. Here, you see that the combination of empire and science propelled another human advancement: credit. The birth of credit was truly astonishing. Let's take a bank as an example. A bank cannot operate without credit. Suppose Adam, a construction worker, deposits $1 billion into Bank B. Then, Catherine borrows $1 billion from Bank B to build a house. Bank B gives Catherine a check for $1 billion, which Catherine uses to pay Adam for construction. Adam now has an additional $1 billion and deposits it back into the bank. At this point, the money in the bank has seemingly become $2 billion, but in reality, from start to finish, the bank only had $1 billion in cash. If Catherine needs more funds to continue building, she can borrow from another bank, which then transfers the money to Adam. According to banking principles, this process can occur up to 7 times. Thus, without needing excessive physical money on Earth, people can continuously expand credit, allowing money to circulate. The fundamental difference between modern and ancient societies is that modern society has formed a cycle of production, profit, reinvestment, and finally, reproduction. Once this cycle emerged, capitalism appeared. Therefore, the core of capitalism is to generate profit, not to spend it. For instance, if you're very wealthy but your money is merely kept hidden in your house, you are not a capitalist. You would only be called a wealthy individual. A capitalist does not save money and hoard it. Instead, they invest that money back into society to keep it constantly flowing and circulating. They help others earn more money and also generate profits for themselves. This is the continuous progress of the entire world brought about by the scientific revolution. You can see that in just about 500 years, the development of the credit system, finance, and science has played an exceptionally large role, bringing our society closer to the modern age. So, what is the current world situation like? The era we are most familiar with today has several characteristics. First, the abdication of empires. There are no more empires in the world. We often hear of American imperialism, but in reality, the United States is no longer considered an empire. One characteristic of an empire is its ability to expand its borders at will and incorporate people into its territory. However, no country now wants to expand its borders. For example, if you wanted to seize Silicon Valley, you could deploy a large army, drive tanks in, and conquer it. What would you gain? The scientists of Silicon Valley would flee, terrified, or be killed, and there would be no one left. What could you do with a land devoid of talented people? The value a country brings is no longer in territorial expansion, but in human intellect. Therefore, to create value, you must satisfy these talented individuals and provide conditions for them to innovate. In short, conquering other nations has become meaningless. The trend of society now is increasingly peaceful. Second, the terrifying advent of the atomic bomb changed the trajectory of social development. When the atomic bomb exploded, the entire Earth was shaken, and we all recognized its horror. It could destroy all of us. Thus, humanity entered an era of nuclear peace. What is nuclear peace? It means everyone has atomic bombs, so we should all be honest and avoid war. There have even been proposals to award the Nobel Peace Prize to the atomic bomb because it made the Earth more peaceful. Next, humanity has now entered the era of consumption. What is the era of consumption? It means that once people have solved the problems of food and clothing, they begin to worry about wanting to eat more, wear more, and live more. Through culture, people's desires and cravings are constantly manipulated, just to make them spend more, live more luxuriously, and buy more things they don't truly need. Do you know that in today's world, people no longer worry about hunger? Instead, too many people are concerned about being overweight, and the money they spend on weight loss could feed all the refugees in the world. And finally, the most important thing we need to understand is that one day, we will face the end of Homo sapiens. What will the end of Homo sapiens be like? It could be that we witness the progress brought by science, but it could also be that science itself becomes the agent that ends the existence of Homo sapiens on Earth. For instance, people have begun using brainwaves to control prosthetic limbs. Some have amputated their legs and attached 2 prosthetic legs that can recognize their voice and help them perform tasks as desired. Therefore, in the future, humans could become a fusion of human and machine. Earth will give birth to a new species. We see that one person can replace their heart, another their liver, and another their kidney. So why not replace the brain? People might even be able to copy your brain, and if so, it would transform into another form of existence. Others are experimenting on creatures. For example, someone developed a human body part on a mouse, and after it grew, that arm could be transplanted into a human body. Thus, as humans use more genetic technologies such as cloning, artificial intelligence, and many others, it could alter the species, and then new species will emerge, and robots could become humanity's next competitors. These things are entirely possible. This book is truly a brief history of humankind. We once used stones and animal bones to extract a bit of dry bone marrow to eat. Then we learned to use fire and language to work together. Slowly, we began to have imagination. We imagined nations and empires, and then agriculture emerged. And then, in the age of empires, we began to combine with science, developing credit and financial systems. Humanity ascended step by step on the ladder of development. Looking back at this process of development is magnificent, yet humanity seems to be living an increasingly weary life. Personally, I believe that the most important thing we can learn from reading this book is the significance of language, imagination, credit, and how robustly the human genome has developed. How we have existed, reproduced, and evolved from ancient times to today, and one thing we need to ponder and change our perception about is what our future will be like. That requires us to grasp our own history. This fascinating book can help us understand millions of years of human evolution in just a moment.